What's up, everybody? It's Dan, Binder Boneyard, coming at you from the office. Beautiful Saturday in January. You probably hear the heater and the fan running in the background. Yeah. Parts washer is running. Gonna do a YouTube video on Dana 20 transfer case, tear down, rebuild. Get a lot of questions about that. Every time I post a video of a rebuilt case, I always get somebody asking something. I see a lot of questions online about it. I just want to say thank you for everybody for following along, for listening. You can find parts at www.thebinderboneyard.com. That is our sales platform. If you're looking for other stuff, not international truck related or international related, but other truck and antique, there is the Binder Boneyard eBay store. You can find a lot of stuff there. A lot of vintage lenses, rare truck parts, hard to find stuff over on the old eBay store. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody, all the Patreon, all the donators, all the everything. Really appreciate you guys very much, and couldn't do without you, since, like I said, I'm paying for this stuff out of pocket, so every dollar helps. Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about today was, how do I say this? New people, new owners, new international aficionados. This is for you guys. I see a lot of comments on social media from new people that are very, very rudimentary, elementary, all kinds of entry questions that would quickly be answered by looking in the manual. I mean, and like, some of these questions are, I mean, every year you see the how do I take my top off questions. And, you know, it's the I've undone all of the screws on the windshield and my top still won't come off. And it's like, well, there's a lot more bolts than that, but why are you asking on the internet? You know, things like that, I really stress a lot of people go and buy the manual, there's a couple, 3 different books you should really have if you're new, even if you're not new, but you encounter issues that you find yourself running to Facebook for answers on, or Binder Planet. You know, if you take a little time, if you have the book, you can answer your questions yourself, and you know that it's going to be right. So the three books I say everyone should have is the owner's manual, you know, the little booklet that lives in your glove box. And it's funny because even the early Scout owner's manuals are big, you know, 8.5 by 11 full size books or brochures. It wasn't until the mid 60s that they went small to the half, you know, little pamphlet sized ones. But that has maintenance schedules, that has operation, you know, how to operate certain things, what stuff does, pictures of layout, basic maintenance, whatever. You really, really should have that. The second thing you should have is the repair manual, which is the large, it's the thick, you know, it's like a CTS. They're like CTS 2301 and 2302, 2304, depending on what model you have. The CTS 2300 is what we call the Bible. It's about 7 inches thick. It's about 2,000 pages. It is a massive, massive book, but it does not have everything in it. That's I found interesting, is that like the 2300 is a great overview, but like the 2306 or 2303 travel all one has sections in it that are not in the 2300, like AC specific stuff and some of like the steering gear stuff. Like there's just little differences in these manuals. So, I say hit the eBay or head over to Binder Books. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sleepy time. Head over to Binder Books and get the manual, the shop manual that is correct for your vehicle. And then the third book that not as critical, but we use the heck out of, and it's a very helpful reference resource, is the MT book. That's MT, like Michael Thomas. That is the parts breakdown book for your truck. So every part number, every piece that had a part number is in that book. And yes, some of the parts you can't search for anymore. Well, I mean, there's the dealership, what international dealerships are left won't be able to do much with your part numbers anymore because they don't really support light line. But, if you're looking for something, a lot of us vendors and on eBay, people are still listing things by the part number. So you can search some of that for like OEM stuff. But the diagrams, all the exploded diagrams that the MT book has is extremely helpful for wrapping your head around how stuff is put together, how it comes apart, the order that stuff goes in. Like the exploded diagram parts of the books are very helpful. Now, they don't give you details, like they don't give you dimensions, they don't give you lengths. I had a guy call the other day looking for engine bearings, and he wanted us to measure the dimension of the bearing so that, he knew that it would fit in his block, because the book doesn't have any of that. What the book does give you for dimensions is hardware dimension. If you need to know what size screws hold your dash together, it will tell you it's a number 8 by 3/4 inch long oval head stainless screw. And it'll say, times 20 or whatever it is, however many it takes to hold it on. So the MT book will tell you what the appropriate hardware is for your truck or for whatever you're working on. So that's very helpful when you're trying to put it back together the right way instead of just scabbing, ramming number 10 self drillers through your dash. Which is not the right way to do it. So having the MT book helps you really sort out what's right. So that's my biggest piece of advice for new owners is, I know it's quick and easy to run to social media and try to get people to answer your question, but there is a lot of people that like to answer questions with the wrong answer, or they don't know the answer, but they want to say stuff anyways. A lot of, pick me girls out there that just pipe up with something that sounds good, but it's not really right. So you have to watch out for that. A lot of misinformation on the social medias. And the other thing too is resist the urge to just call one of the shops and ask for technical advice. I get calls here every day from guys that didn't buy parts from us that are having issues, and they see that I'm helpful on Facebook or I have the podcast or whatever. And so then they call the shop and they're like, hey, I know it's 2:00 on a Wednesday, but can you walk me through how to rewire my truck? And I'm going to take notes. And then they get kind of indignant when I say no, because we've got our own jobs going. I can't, and then people get weird when you're like, okay, it's going to be, $7 a minute. Or, the shop rate is $125 an hour. So yeah, I think that breaks down to like $5 a minute or something. So, and then people get all weird when you tell them that. So yeah, it's best if you have the books. There's all the resources out there. You can find it in your books or YouTube or whatever, and not have to bother anybody, and not have to slow anybody down. And you may even find your answer faster than you would by scrolling the social medias and hoping for a post or a reply to your post. And then the other thing is when you post and people go, oh, this guy's a dummy. He's asking which direction to turn this bolt. Well, geez, he needs to like turn in his wrenches. So, that's the other thing is I have questions. I run into stuff occasionally that I'm like, gosh, I don't remember this, or I'm working on like a 50s truck where there's some weird engine stuff. And I'm like, man, as much as I want to call somebody or, whatever, like I crack the book, I read my reference materials, and I figure it out through measuring and checking stuff out. I don't think I would ever be able to, be confident in myself if I was constantly calling somebody or, hitting social media all the time. And I think some of it is there's a little bit of a dopamine hit that guys get from asking a question and then getting an answer back. It's that, waiting for your girlfriend to call kind of thing. Like I don't know. I think guys like to ask questions just to ask questions. Or they like to brag. Check out this rust-free Scout I bought for $12 and a chicken. And then, then they want to brag about it. So, that's my beef with the social media stuff. It's just, if you guys would just take a couple minutes. Yeah, the books aren't cheap. The owner's manual's $40. The parts manual is 100 and something, and the repair manual is also 100 and something. So they aren't cheap. But the neat thing about having the printed word near you all the time is that it is there forever. You don't have to have access to the internet. You don't have to have a good signal. You don't have to hope that somebody made a video about the exact thing that you're working on. You have all of that reference material right there. I know you know how to read. I know you can figure it out. So that's what I try and tell guys. And then they get mad. People, when they call here and they say, oh, I just need to know this. I say, buy the book. And they go, oh, just tell me real quick. I just got to figure this one thing out. I'm like, if you're asking that question, then there's going to be 25 other things that you need to figure out along your way. And it's just going to be better if you buy the book. So that's what I tell all the new people, all the new owners, and, and also remember, and I tell this to new guys a lot, that your truck, even the newest Scout made, is 46 years old. So everything is getting older. And it's had plenty of time to be messed with. So you can't always assume that everything in your truck is stock or original or factory or whatever. And, some guys will tell me that their peepaw ordered their pickup from the factory with a Dodge, 440, and the dealership ordered it that way. And it's, one of one. And International did a lot of stuff, but they didn't do stuff like that. So, just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what's what with your rig. That sometimes these old guys' stories aren't always aligned in real life. And And when you take something apart and it looks weird, it may not be stock. It may be somebody's workaround. We've run into that, especially on brake parts, when people couldn't get the right brake springs or the right wheel cylinder. They just like cobbled something else together to make it work, to get it down the road. But then later on, turns out that's way wrong. And so now you're trying to undo the wrongness and make it right, because they do work pretty well when they're done right. When the stuff is put together the way it's supposed to, that it works well. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. And that's why it's important to have that parts book and that manual, because you can look at what the book says versus what you have and know that it's right or it's not. So yeah, that's the other thing. So it just circles back around to the books. Having that reference material is the end all of knowledge for working on your truck or for ordering parts or for whatever, And the scary thing is you would be alarmed how many other shops call here, not international shops, but like general repair shops call here asking for advice, or they want a copy of a wiring diagram, or they want to know something. So, having those reference materials, if you take your truck to another shop and having that available for them to look at, may also help save you and them some headache, because I have seen where shops didn't know what they were doing, guessed, scabbed something together and sent it out, and then just shrug their shoulders and use the excuse, oh, these are just old trucks, it's how it is. And, if they'd had the book, they may have been able to do it more correctly. So there's no shame in giving your shop the repair book, because, a lot of shops use digital references for working on vehicles. So the fact that International doesn't have a digital reference means they have to have the book. So no shame. I feel like there was another thing I was going to mention, and now I can't remember. Yeah. Don't be afraid of the Facebook groups and things like that. There's some fun stuff. There's some anecdotes. A lot of history gets shared there, but don't use them as a crutch. Don't count on the Facebook fanboys to save you from yourself when you're running into problems. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's bad, but try to be careful. And again, if you listen to my podcast the other day about being self-sufficient and the ultimate rebellion, well, reading the books and having that information at your fingertips for the rest of your life is way better than depending on the man to provide you with internet and, information that's out there. So yeah, just keep the books, keep the materials, have them handy, leaf through them, read them when you're on the toilet instead of the phone. You will learn stuff. There's a lot of great information. So that's it. I'm going to cut it short today. That's all I had for the new guys. Hopefully you gain something from this. And if not, buy the book and then gain something. So I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Remember to hit our store if you need anything. And until next time, I'm Dan from Binder Boneyard.